For years ago, my life shattered in a way I could never have anticipated. The events of that night still haunt me, as if they happened just yesterday. I had convinced myself I could carry on with the secret I was hiding, thinking I could get away with it. But secrets, no matter how carefully guarded, have a way of unraveling. And mine fell apart in the most devastating way. I had been married to Mark for 12 years. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but whose is? We met in college, fell in love quickly, and soon after started a family. Mark was the kind of man you could rely on. He was steady, dependable, always putting his family first. He'd be the one to get up at dawn to repair the fence, or stay up late helping the kids with their homework. Over the years, though, our marriage began to feel like a routine, comfortable but suffocating, unexciting. I felt trapped, like I was living a life that wasn't truly mine anymore. I worked as a market manager at a mid-sized company, and it was there that I met Evan, my boss. He was everything I hadn't realized I was missing. Charming, confident, the kind of man who owned the room the moment he walked in. What started as harmless flirting soon escalated into something far more dangerous. What began as stolen glances and late-night texts to fill the emptiness inside me became a full-blown affair. At first, it was thrilling. The excitement of sneaking around, the rush of being desired, of feeling alive in a way I hadn't in years. But as time went on, the thrill faded. It was replaced by an overwhelming guilt that gnawed at me. I knew I was risking everything. My marriage, my children's happiness, the stability Mark and I had worked so hard to build. I told myself I would end it. I promised myself I would, but I kept finding excuses not to. It wasn't love, not really. Evan was an escape, a way to break free from the monotony of my life. And I was selfish enough to embrace it. Then came the night that destroyed everything. It was a Thursday, and I had told Mark I'd be working late. But Mark had grown suspicious. He decided to surprise me at the office. I never saw him coming. I was in the middle of a moment with Evan when Mark walked in. The look on his face was something I will never forget, a mixture of rage and pure, unrelenting betrayal. He lunged at Evan, fists flying, pounding him with an intensity that left me frozen in place. Security had to intervene, but by then, it was too late. Evan was badly hurt, and Mark, he was arrested right on the spot, charged with assault. In the days that followed, I tried to reach out to Mark, tried to apologize, tried to explain, anything to make it right, but he refused to speak to me. His family and friends turned on me, making it clear that they saw me as the sole cause of everything that had happened. My children, who were just 8 and 10 at the time, couldn't fully grasp the situation, but they understood enough to direct their anger at me. They blamed me for their father's absence, for the nights they cried themselves to sleep, for the joy that had disappeared from their lives. With Mark in prison for the next 4 years, I was left to raise our children alone. But no matter how hard I tried to rebuild, no matter how many times I reached out, my children rejected me. Their resentment toward me grew, and each failed attempt to make amends only deepened the divide between us. I was alone, lost in the consequences of my own mistakes, with nothing but the weight of my guilt to carry. And now, here I am, watching my life unravel, my kids hating me, all because of one selfish choice. The guilt eats at me every day, but nothing can change what has happened. I'm left to face the aftermath, and to wonder if I'll ever be able to put the pieces of my life back together. I could hardly bring myself to look in the mirror without feeling an overwhelming sense of disgust. The affair was over, but the damage was already done. Evan was transferred to another branch, and I never saw him again. But that did little to ease the torment I felt inside. The 4 years Mark spent in prison felt like an eternity to me, each day a constant reminder of the precious things I had lost because of my reckless choices. A loving husband, the stability of our home, the respect of my children, they were all gone. I threw myself into therapy, hoping it might offer me some relief from the guilt that weighed me down. But no matter how hard I tried, the pain only deepened. The loneliness was suffocating. My friends didn't know what to say or how to act, so they distanced themselves, leaving me to face the consequences of my actions alone. I tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy for the sake of the children, ensuring they were fed, clothed, and cared for. But their coldness toward me was like a knife twisting in my heart. Their silence spoke volumes, louder than any words ever could. When Mark was finally released from prison, I didn't know what to expect. A part of me dared to hope. Foolishly, I now realize that we might talk, maybe even find a way to co-parent for the sake of our children. Maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild what I had shattered. But deep down, I knew the chances of reconciliation were slim. Mark returned, but he was no longer the man I had known. The warmth, the kindness, the love that once defined him were gone, replaced by a hardened indifference that chilled me to the core. I saw it in his eyes. The man I had loved was no more. When he visited the kids, they rushed to him with open arms, but I was barely acknowledged. The distance between us was impossible to ignore, a silent reminder of the irreversible damage I had caused. The months since Mark's release have been unbearable. He's slowly rebuilding his life, and though he never speaks to me directly, I hear through mutual acquaintances that he's found work and is trying to move forward. The kids now spend every other weekend with him, and I see how much happier they are in his presence. Every time I try to reach out, though, the conversation feels forced, like I'm talking to a stranger instead of my own children. Their eyes are full of resentment, waiting for an apology that words can never truly deliver. I am alone now, truly, utterly alone. This loneliness is my punishment, and I know I deserve it. The house we once shared is now a hollow shell, a painful reminder of everything I've lost. My children may never forgive me, and I can't blame them. They saw their father's life unravel because of me. I know I will never be able to undo the harm I've caused, and I will never regain the life I destroyed. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I wake up desperately hoping this is all just a nightmare, that I'll roll over to find Mark beside me and hear my children's laughter echoing through the house. But then reality crashes in, and I'm reminded that I am the one who built this misery, one reckless decision at a time. The love I once had is gone, replaced by an empty void that seems impossible to fill. And in that emptiness, all I have are the memories of a life I carelessly allowed to slip away. Every day, I live with the consequences of my actions.